The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 14th day of March, 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Windows, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman. He's Larry Marshall Jr. And Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I see you look like you got a little incognito vibe this morning.
Yeah. I'm actually, I'm in this hotel, and I've never... you've been in a hotel by an airport before, like an airport hotel?
Yeah.
Well, I've been in an airport hotel, but literally not on the runway per se. So if I open this curtain behind me, you literally see the airplanes right there. It's like, I feel like I'm a bit too close. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, something good is when you want to have a little.
And I'm trying not to think like that, but I'm like, yo, I'm a little too close to the action, man.
I just like watching airplanes in the air. Like if it flies across and look at you, I don't like looking at them.
Really?
I don't want to see something.
Yeah.
Weird. I know. I'm weird, folks.
No, I've heard so many people say they love seeing that. Never heard somebody say that's interesting though. I mean, hey, you never know, man. I don't know, bro. I don't know. This is an interesting space to stay, but it was convenient for these couple days to do this show to make sure that it's I was trying to set the lighten up audience. Let me tell you how much we love doing this show. So when I travel, and Maya's done it as well, when we travel, we got to set this up. I'll have to show you guys like what goes into setting up a hotel room to do this show, but it's really not turning your computer on and just going. So it's quite it's quite interesting, the setup.
It's not even like that at home, so I can only imagine.
Right?
Then
yeah. So I don't know. What they call it, a transient, or is a transient bed? What is it when you're on the go? Anyway, that's what I feel like doing this. But anyway, happy to be doing it. Currently in Rhode Island, it's actually I went to the beach yesterday, bro.
It's not cold up there?
Yes, it's cold. People talking about it's not bad. It's in the 50s, huh?
Well, 50s is like Bermuda's 70s.
Bruh, it's cold. I live in South Florida.
But you've been in school there for years, so that doesn't hold up.
My body has adapted.
Whatever. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Nah, it was cool yesterday. It was kind of chilly. But it was a beautiful spring day, New England style. Beautiful spring day, New England style. All right. So we've got some French people in the audience. Bonjour. And interestingly enough, daily players can have something to do with that. We've got Suzanne Ingham. She says, awesome Thursday, gentlemen. And I think she means Maya as well. She never forgets her favorite Maya out there. Nika DeShield says, good morning, TDH. Charles H. Jefferson II says, Larry, is that because airplanes fall out of the sky all the time? Well, they do. That's how they land, right?
That's not the reason, but okay. I just don't want to see something horrific.
I have to take another ride this week. I don't know the reason. We've got Amber M says, take some BTS videos. I took some video for you yesterday. I don't know how much I can share with you though, Amber. But I definitely took some. And then Anika the Shield says, excited to hear Mrs. Maxwell today. Well, you know what? I did not, realize that last week we were doing the show and Maya even did a post about some of the, she named 5 women that were mentioned on last week's show, and Mrs. Maxwell was one of them. And her name was said a lot last week on this show. And I did not realize that, again, I don't find out who's going to be on the show until really Friday evening or Saturday the next week. So I did not know she would be on this week. So hopefully everyone who was shouting her name and showing her love last week will support her this morning as she comes on to speak about her Girlcott. So greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. It should be a good conversation with Mrs. Maxwell with your support today. The Daily Play is a name that place. Name that place. The hint has already been given. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. And we've got a lot. I mean, we miss one day, and all of a sudden everything wants to happen, right? Yeah. I'm sure that Maya's news break is going to be extremely informative today. We did have a life sentence handed down to Kamal Worrell. We've also had, look, we're not going to talk about it today, but yes or no, audience, didn't Premier David Burt say there won't be any tax increases? I thought he said that.
There weren't. There were fees.
See, now you're beating me to it. See, your part. See, bro, that's the problem.
It's the wording, right?
The language. And I keep telling people the language, man. This brother said there won't be no increase in taxes, but yet the fees for businesses went up. And who do you think that's going to impact?
You won't get in trouble. We'll just punish you.
Yeah. So, folks, we're not going to talk about that either. No, we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about, let's just go to our friends at the Royal Gazette. Title says, De Silva MPs are putting their lives on the line. Yeah, MPs and De Silva, according to the Royal Gazette, says politicians are putting their lives on the line and deserve to be paid more for the sacrifices they make, according to a government backbencher. Now, Mr. De Silva made these claims while defending the Attorney General and the Minister of Legal Affairs, Kathy Simmons. And this was regarding a law firm set up by Ms. Simmons' husband, Amarian Simmons, who was granted a contract to provide legal services to the Attorney General's chamber. Look, I don't even want to get all into this, right? But let's do something, because first off, before we even get into it, here we go. The question of the morning is what are your thoughts on MP Zandy Silva's comments regarding pay for politicians? What are your thoughts on it? But yes or no, do you believe Bermudian politicians should be paid more? Just a simple yes or no. Do you think that they should be paid more? Yes or no? Do you believe Bermudian politicians should be paid more? You said something there?
I said no.
No. Okay. Larry says no. He says no, they shouldn't be paid more. What are your thoughts? What do you believe? Yes or no? Do you believe that Bermudian politicians should be paid more? Yes or no? Let it flow, audience. Hey, look, this is the Daily Hour. We're not going to hold it against you. You can tell us how you feel.
If I can I just explain a bit more on my note? I think there has to be restructuring and maybe a bit of cutting. Currently, the MPs get $56,000 a year, and the ministers, if you're a minister, you get $116,000. I think maybe we need to decrease maybe some of the MPs that we have to get people up more, but no, I don't think they do.
Well, I mean, further to your point, not sure if people can see this, but as Larry was just saying, an elected member of parliament gets $56,000, right? The speaker, 82.5. Deputy Speaker, 69. Premier, my goodness, something he would have never seen in the whatever. Anyway, 207. But when you look at this, I think it's important to know the history and context of these salaries, right? I know some people, there's part-time versus full-time, but this can be fun, and we can share the link for you if you're interested, right? So that just gives you an idea of what the pay is for them currently, all right? But I want to say this, understanding the history, and many years ago I was taught, and whether it's true or not, but I was taught many years ago that the pay was always kept so low for politicians to keep Black people out of it, right? That's what I was told. And the white folks that got into politics had established businesses, so they didn't need it. All they needed was the political control. Mm-hmm. So the way to keep Black people out of it was to keep the pay low. And they wouldn't be able to do it because they had to go and work and support their families. I think when you look at the history of the pay, it probably needs to be relooked at. I think what happens today is I think there's such a poor taste in our mouths regarding those who currently serve. I think that's where we're responding emotionally, right? And our emotional responses are telling us, no way, they're already overpaid. That's not how we probably should be looking at anything. What we should be looking at is this person, not the person, but this position is worth this amount, not this person. And it's hard for us to do that, to eliminate the person because of the kind of individuals we have. Because if you ask me, you pick any MP and you say, do they deserve an increase in pay? I'm saying, heck no. But if you ask me if politicians should be paid more, I think I'll do what Larry said. But let's break it down. Do we need this many politicians for Bermuda? Instead of increasing the amount of money that goes to them, eliminate some of the positions where we have people who are allowed to do it full time and this and that. And the, I think there's more to it.
Yes.
But audience, yes or no, do you believe Bermudian politicians should be paid more? Let's go to this audience. Suzanne Ingham says, what line is that? Fill my pocket even more. Kenton Trott says yes. Suzanne Ingham says absolutely not. Charles H. Jeffs II says yes, but only if there are fewer. Like you, Larry, we have too many. Kenton Trott says my suggestion is 18 MPs and they should make at least 100 per year. See, this is what happens. I'm sorry, Larry, I didn't even realize this.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think we're all aligned, actually.
Yeah.
I think we're aligned, except Suzanne Ingham, and that's not a bad thing, but I think we're all aligned. Yes, politicians should, I get the emotion. I look, there was no show, but I was still following on social media. I get the irritation and the annoyance of people, but folks,
and why it had to be said,
I get it. We get it. None of us are happy with the current state, but this is not about the individuals. This is about if you want the best, think about it. We had someone on this show recently. If you want the best, like those folks who are not entering politics because it doesn't pay enough, then you've got to pay for them. And I know people are saying, well, it's about service. Yeah, it is. But we also live in a time where people cannot afford to just do things of service.
Yeah, I agree. If I could just touch on the comments regarding Andy Silva's comments, right? Three things stuck out to me. The first thing is, one would question if Zandy Silva was a minister, would he have made these statements, right? Mm-hmm. Now, he has to show up every Friday making far less than he did if he was a minister, and could his time be better used? He's a businessman, and it's just not worth it to him. And if that's the case, he has to make some serious personal decisions. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, he's talked about his family subject to criticism. Everybody who decides to do something for the public's family is subject to criticism. When we was in conscription, those who did not like us lashed us in the media, the public, and they weren't getting a MP salary to go along with it. Mm-hmm. And the last thing was, folks, sit in or have a look, if they ever stream it, for a House of Assembly session, and note how many people are engaged, note how many people are missing, note how many times do people leave and come back?
Mhm.
And then one more question. Well, if you miss, are you still getting paid? If
Mhm.
you're sick, well, you're the same as miss. If you're late, do you get you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
you start asking for more money,
Mhm.
but we as the public aren't convinced that you're maximizing yourselves with the current salary you have. Because the few times I've been in the House of Assembly, I was not impressed. And you're saying this is what our dollars are going towards, and it just makes you question those things.
Yeah, I take your point about all those things. You don't get in politics and then cry about the way you're being treated. Um, that comes with the territory. No, am I excusing bad behavior or threatening behavior or any of that? No, I'm not. But I remember Teo Dill when he was on the morning show. I mean, Teo, from my belief, was actually a PLP member, and ministers of education, not calling any names, and certain ministers, oh, he shouldn't talk about politicians like that. Do you not watch late night shows? Like, you put yourself, that comes with the territory. What it is you don't like people talking about black politicians like that.
And furthermore, let's not act like some of these things were in self-inflicted wounds.
Oh yeah,
He decided to breach the COVID regulations and have all that type of stuff. He
well,
opened himself up to
I mean,
those things.
he did get that discharged or dismissed or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
All right, so let's go back to the audience. What are your thoughts on MP Zandy Silva's comments regarding pay for politicians? We've got Kelly Clark Madeira says, move to no party system, vote the best MP of your parish, not based on party. So you think this would give us, you'd be okay with increasing the pay if it reflects this, Kelly Clark Madeira?
Okay.
And keep in mind, I used to think the same, like have it based on parish, but that would not be fair. The reason it wouldn't be fair is because not all parishes have nearly the same amount of people, right? And I think it's like
Yeah.
it should be based on a number of people that are being represented, not just the parish. Like if you changed a certain area to a parish and there's only like 10 people, the way the what they're called, the votes have to hold similar weight in my opinion. But I did used to think that parish would work until I start looking at the population. On target, says Suzanne Ingham Larry. And Kenton Trott says, there you go, Larry. I have seen him many times where the house is on. I'm listening to it on my earphones and I see MPs walking around town. Look, we've been in there. We've been in there.
Yeah.
I've been in an empty chamber near empty chamber. And you're like, huh? But this is being debated today. It's, if you've never been to the House of Assembly, I mean, it's one thing to listen to it, but it's almost like, are they really doing the people's business sometimes? As crazy as it may sound on the radio, you might be like, are you seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Renee Simmons says, some are really only there for a job. So yes, they should have a pay rise, but what they really need to do is cut back on the amount of MPs, make CITV useful in HOA so it's public viewing. Now, yeah, I was going to mention when Larry said live, it is streamed live, but it's only on radio. But I think we're in 2024. We're looking for C-SPAN, right? We want to be able to view it. And it should be on YouTube. Like people should be able to go back on their own and view it. Not just Hansard, where you can get the audio recording. That's where we're at. And there's no reason why we can't do that. But again, what are your thoughts on Zandy Silva's comments, audience? I mean, I think the consensus this morning, and consensus not meaning everyone agrees, is yeah, MPs should be paid more. And the Senate pay, I couldn't get that, but the senators get even less. But I think if we're looking at the position, if we're looking at take the individuals out of it, right? Because we know you all don't like Zandy Silva. We get it. You don't like most of the PLP. We get that as well. But remove the individuals, and I guarantee you'll get it. Because again, if we're looking to get Bermuda's best, we have to get those who are actually building their careers outside of politics. Right now, we are literally stuck with a bunch of people who have either failed in the private sector, right, or need a job or both. Now, okay, Mr. De Silva, he's one from the outside would say he's done pretty well for himself. And there are a few others who've been gifted, CEO jobs or chairman jobs and positions. But for the most part, many of them need politics for a job. The only way to weed that out is to narrow the requirements. Now, one would say that's not democracy, though, because democracy should mean every and any citizen, regardless of criminal record, too, should be able to serve, should the people so feel fit to elect them, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
tough one.
It is. But I think the last thing I want to, well, not maybe the last thing, but what I want to touch on is, I guess I bothered, like, it was one of those things of, if you really feel that it's so much, such a tool and something on him, and we spoke about his businesses and him being what he does outside of the realm of politics, maybe it's time to step aside.
Yeah, that would, yeah. I mean, yeah. If you really feel that way,
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of the few that people would say doesn't need politics. Pamela Wade says there are 7 MPs in Pembroke. I mean, again, population-wise, while I get what Kelly Clark Medeiros is saying regarding, one per parish, like Pembroke is no comparison to St. George's.
Yes, I agree. But I still think 7's too much for Pembroke.
Oh, absolutely. We don't need Pembroke Central, Central West, and all that. No, it is a lot. Like, yeah. I mean, think about it. If we go to one for each parish, that's 9. Folks, I know St. David's is not a parish. Stop it. Stop being like that. It's 9 parishes. St. David's, Paul, St. George's. But my point is, we do that. You're 2 away in Pembroke from that. You feel me? Like 7 to 9. So Pembroke alone has 7. Anyway, let's bring Maya in. She's got a lot of news break for us today. And you know what? Since we missed the day, you all know how I am. I torment Sherry, and I realized I hadn't hit her up in a while and tormented her. So I gave her a, little joke the other day, and she was slapping her knee laughing. So I'm going to give you that joke today. Well, she said I was probably slapping my knee.
You should double down since you missed the day.
Yeah,
that's for Maya.
That's for Maya. Because Maya missed me. She played hard, but I know she missed us for that day. All right, let's bring Maya in before she gets tired and doesn't want to hear the joke. All right, stick with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, MP, how you doing? You look excited to be here.
Oh yeah, so excited.
Eagerly anticipating jokes.
Yeah. You seem like you need a joke today with that energy.
Okay, sure. Good luck.
Well, I know you got a lot for us. I mean, we miss a day, and it seems like so much happened. Right?
So much has happened. Yeah.
Okay, so I must ask, because Maya told me something yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I was traveling. I legit had not even seen what was going on social media. Like, I didn't know. And I was just like, wow, I literally missed 2 days worth of news just yesterday morning. My hope is that there's some good stuff in there too.
There's some good stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, over to you.
All right. So good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by the great people at People's Pharmacy. So starting out our news this morning, yes, Kamal Wall has been sentenced to life behind bars for the murder of Cheval Dylan Burgess. So coming from the Gazette, lawyer Kamal was convicted of murdering the mother of his child, Cheval Dylan Burgess, and was sentenced to a minimum of 27 years behind bars. You may recall that on April 30th of 2020, Ms. Dylan Burgess was reported missing by her family, and despite an island-wide search, she has not yet been found. Now, on the screen there, you'll see just a bit of timeline of highlights that occurred during this whole process when Cheval did go missing. Now, throughout the trial, Wall maintained his innocence, claiming that he had never acted violently toward Ms. Dylan Burgess and had only ever acted to defend himself when she lashed out against him, his words. He told the court that Ms. Dylan Burgess had walked out of the home and that they shared with their child after an argument on April 11th, and she returned briefly days only to collect personal items. Now, prosecutors argued that Ms. Dylan Burgess had given consistent stories of assault when talking to her friends, family, and doctor, and changed her story only when she was in court with the defendant in the room with her. Now, Cheval's mother said the trauma of her daughter still missing was unbearable, saying, quote, "I believe that she would outlive me, but the belief existed when I was more naive about evil. Now, Mr. Justice Wolf chose not to adjourn the matter and urged the defendant to provide information about what happened to Miss Dylan Burgess to provide closure to her family and her son, saying, quote, "I am giving you the opportunity to let your son know where his mother is so that he could give his last farewells." Now, Wall responded that he had given evidence under oath during the trial, saying, quote, "I am a father who tried his best to be a good father. I always have. I always will. I gave my testimony under oath, and I have nothing to add to that."
So basically, the judge said to Mr. Worrell, basically, you've been convicted by your peers. Let us know where she is. And he still is saying, I gave my testimony. I don't know. That's what I got right there.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. No, the words "I don't know" wasn't added in there, but just the "I have nothing to add to that."
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think just to put that in context is obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but likely there will be an appeal. And so I guess
yes, he's already.
Right. So banking on that, he's not, if I know we could sit back and say the arrogance of this gentleman is still not gonna just do the right thing, but he's probably banking on an appeal. Not saying I support that, just saying that's where he's at.
And just a reminder to the community that this police statement here, the basic gist of it is that they say, quote, "We continue to investigate the whereabouts of Chevelle Dylan Burgess remains and hope our efforts eventually provide her family with closure." In addition, they have some more information about the timeline, and also adding that if you know anything, any information at all, no matter how small you may believe it to be, to still contact them and reach out to them, as they still are continuing their investigation, their search for Chevelle's remains.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Maya, and covering that and breaking that down, giving us the timeline as well.
Yeah.
Of course. Now, in other news, meanwhile, a 30-year-old female was struck by a motor car while crossing the roadway around 3 p.m. on Tuesday, March the 12th. Now, the hit and run was driven by an unidentified male who left the scene. Officers later located that vehicle, which was abandoned along Angle Street in Pembroke. The victim was transported to the hospital where she was attended to for her injuries, which were not considered serious. Thankfully, she has been since discharged, but the investigation in this hit and run is now underway. If you know something, saw something, you could contact PC Corey Jackman on 247-1704, or again, talk to an officer whom you know.
Wow. I'm glad that she's been discharged and that, she's not injured too badly, but wow.
Indeed, it's been a lot over the weekend. As anyone here who's watching it right now, you would know that the community should be very aware of the shooting that happened this past Sunday on Court Street. While apparently there's a video of the incident actually circulating, and police are urging anyone who received this to delete it immediately because the matter is still under investigation, and sharing the images could hamper that investigation. And also not to mention that the images are quite disturbing and no doubt of concern to the victim and those close to him. Now, Commissioner of the police, Mr. Darren Simons, also says that they are still needing for people to come forward to tell the police anything about the incident, which left a 38-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds who remains in the hospital, but with thankfully not life-threatening. But so far, information provided by members of the public resulted in arrested suspects and recovered evidence for 2 recent firearm incidents. However, and what has happened before in other serious cases, no one called the police to report this incident. The only reason there was police presence was because a police officer on duty at the Hamilton Police Station happened to hear the gunshots and alerted their colleagues. Now, Commissioner Simons says, quote, "Early indications are that the rapid response by officers and their life-saving actions may well have prevented a more tragic outcome. It is understandable that residents would feel some unease in light of these, brazen acts of criminality, but he wishes to assure the public that the Bermuda Police Service remains unrelenting in their efforts at making Bermuda safer." So should you have anything to say, add to this conversation or investigation, give them anything, you can still call them at 211 or 295-0011.
Let's take some steps how we got here, right? In the late 2000s, you had shootings and people were up in arms. They were in public. They had a lot to say. As they realized, these are just happening in these places, it became less interest. This is just a part of the norm and so on. Now we're in a dangerous space And, you know, again, there's a lot of steps to get here where, oh, you hear it, you know of it, but you call and say nothing because it's just another part of our culture. It's a norm within our culture. Folks, this is a dangerous place for our community to be. Maya just said, no one called to report it. That's what you said, right?
Yeah. Not one call. You remember this in other cases too, down in St. David's with other incidents. No one called.
Wow. Not a place that our community should feel safe being in.
It's unfortunate. Extremely unfortunate.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, in other news, this has to do with the town of St. George's. So definitely if you live in St. George's, it's something you want to know. Everyone across the island should know this. But Minister Birch announced that United Nations Scientific and Cultural Organizations, or UNESCO, will be coming to Bermuda for an advisory mission to the historic town of St. George's and related fortifications later this month.
Times have changed since UNESCO's only visit in 2000. Therefore, it is intended for this advisory mission to allow the government, Corporation of St. George's, and any relevant stakeholder to directly discuss the overall direction for the town, address any concerns the entity may have, and seek its opinion on the town.
So basically, sorry, Jamal, you got something to add?
No, go ahead. I'll now.
So basically, representatives will arrive later this month, stay for 5 days, paid by the government, and after the mission is done, UNESCO will report back to the government about Bermuda's World Heritage status for St. George's, which is a pretty important status that we have here in Bermuda. It's obviously around the world, so it's good to have. But again, they haven't been here about 24 years. So
the World Heritage Site designation is internationally recognized. The Bermuda Tourism Authority leverages the status in its efforts to improve the island's cultural tourism initiatives. However, if there are no businesses open, poor infrastructure, dilapidated buildings owned by individuals, outdated policies and legislation, and no financial support from outside entities, essentially no incentives exist to retain designation. How would a revitalization for the area occur? This is the feedback the government is seeking from UNESCO, in their view, that would be best suited for our historic town.
Go ahead, Jamal.
I'm not trying to create a sensationalized headline, but based on that gap in them being in Bermuda and where St. George's is right now, I mean, we just had the mayor on, we've had numerous businesses on from there. I would probably say that the UNESCO thing is under threat. You know, you heard him say poor infrastructure, no, stores closed and the like, right? Look, I say this, St. George's is it's probably arguably my favorite part of Bermuda, right? I love St. George's. Never lived there, but I just love everything about it, we knowing that I worked for Bermuda Tourism at one point in my life, and it was something we leveraged. I don't think Bermudians understand what UNESCO actually means, but it's like those people who put letters next to their name. Nobody knows what they mean, but some people in the industry and them, right? But in the tourism space, and you're trying to get people, it means something. Mm-hmm. It means something. Like, I've had a group of people, I said on this show, we had a codfish breakfast in the square one time. Like that meant something to them. The unfinished church, as boring or mug, to use Bermudian terms, as it may be to us, it means something. So my hope is that we all, not just people in St. George's, understand the importance of this remaining a UNESCO World Heritage Site and start supporting it. Credit to the St. George's folks for fighting for a ferry. But it's going to take more than a, hotel down there to really revitalize the old town, and it needs to support. It's Bermuda's only UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah, and there's tons of small towns around the world that make it and thrive. So I just, hopeful that they can get it back on track.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, in other news, this one coming from TNN, Dalwood Middle School students hospitalized after consuming THC edibles. Now, the item was reportedly provided to her by a boy who also attended the middle school. Parents who spoke to TNN and claimed that the boy who provided the edible was suspended but is soon to return to class, a situation they feel is unattainable. So in a letter dated March the 1st, signed by acting principal Trina, it says, quote, I am writing to bring to your attention a matter of grave concern. There have been reports of students selling and consuming edible products on school grounds. As educators and caregivers, it is our responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of the students. The acting principal says the school takes this matter very seriously and they are addressing it with urgency. You can read more on TNN.
All right. Very sad. I mean,
Parents advocate for your children.
yeah.
Indeed. Now, here's a question for you guys, actually. Can you name some essential workers during the COVID pandemic, during the lockdown?
Yeah, the emergency, what they call EMTs, and police officers, and, customs officers. And I know people say, well, no, they there were no traveling. They still had to, things were still coming into the island, like COVID tests. Yeah, there's a few teachers. They were, yep, they were essential because they were still teaching at home. Who else? Who am I missing?
Marshall?
Jamal picked all the ones that I was thinking of. The firefighters.
Okay, yeah, indeed.
Yeah, prisoners, stuff like that.
Apparently to Antoine Seeley, who is the NAS Water Service, who is part of the NAS Water Service here in Bermuda, felt that during COVID-19, water trucks did not get the appreciation they deserved for being essential workers. Coming from the Royal Gazette, he said, often found himself giving water to people for free because they had lost their jobs during the pandemic and were desperate. Some elderly people told him that they had to choose between paying for the medication and paying for water. He said he watched as some order customers attempted to pay for their water with pennies and quarters. And he also said, quote, if you are telling people they need to wash their hands every 15 seconds, then they are going to be using more water. Now, the point of the story actually isn't to highlight his side of being neglected, but moreover on how most of the water truck services have been struggling due to the heavy rainfall in Bermuda and also the horrible conditions on Bermuda's roads, which are damaging their trucks, which carry such massive heavy loads. So not to mention that most drivers now are resorting to different types of employment now to help make ends meet. He says that some mow lawns and apparently are also making dog food to make ends meet. So you could read the full story there as well on the Gazette.
Yeah, I went on the Royal Gazette and I read. I caught my interest. And I'll tell you why afterwards, Maya. But keep going. Let me I want to make sure you're not going to report on this. So go ahead.
All right. So in closing up with our sports this morning, Dara Alexander. I'm sorry, I may pronounce that name wrong, but he is also well set up to qualifying for the bid for the Olympic Games in Paris this summer of the World Rowing America's Olympic and Paralympic qualification to Rio, so which starts on Thursday, so today, March 14th. This is his day right now. He will finish, hopefully, respectively, within like top 5 to secure his passage to Paris for Bermuda. Now, right now, we only have one person who has qualified so far, and that's Adriana for sailing, but we're looking really good for Dow right now. So good luck to him today as he competes. And I mean, he was also just one athlete wants to be competing for Bermuda as well and holding that banner all by himself. So it's looking good for him to be in these games and excited to see him.
Is this his last chance for qualification?
No, I believe he does have another chance to secure, but today, if he gets it though, today top 5, then he's on his way to Paris. And also, if you didn't know, the Bermuda Olympic Association is looking for a media and engagement coordinator for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, and the deadline is March 15th tomorrow, but you can go to the website for more information.
Alrighty.
I nominate Maya.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marshall.
I mean, only one person comes to mind, but anyway, I'm gonna keep my bias. Probably Maya Palacio, Media Maya. You know what she does. Like anyway, Maya, you got any what's the weather? That's it.
Yes. Weather today, it's looking like sunny periods, but with a few showers around here and there. So, just be a little bit mindful of that. A little bit of windy coming from the west northerly side. But we got a high of 71 today, which is pretty good. And the sun's going to be out. So hopefully you enjoy it.
Alrighty. Real quickly before Larry does the day today, I just want to say regarding the water trucks, it makes me think of what was in the Royal Gazette in the last couple of days with the Bermuda Press Holdings, the parent company, saying that they lost over $400,000 in the last year. And people are looking for relief, right? In the U.S., you had those PPP loans or whatnot. I think people are looking for relief. Now, some people may look and say, well, why should we give water truck drivers or the Royal Gazette and the media company relief? I'm going to speak here some people may say, well, the Royal Gazette's your competition. I don't think anyone who is in this space is competition. I think we're all trying to provide a service to the public, just like the water truck drivers. We have to look at life sometimes as what are we doing to help our community rather than what are we trying to get out of our community to help ourselves. I am very interested to see what happens over the next few years with industries like water truck drivers, which Bermudians so heavily relied on for so many years. Obviously, with the amount of waterfall or rainfall that we've had over the last few years, along with the pandemic and things, people just not needing it as much, things have changed. And when in business, you have to evolve with the times. Does that mean we just leave people to hang and say, you know what, well, your business is no longer needed? Does that mean the media, the Royal Gazette, needs to be more creative and evolve and it's their own fault? Or do we as a community say to our government, no matter how we feel about the Gazette and what they report, how they report it, this is a necessary entity that we need for whatever reason, maybe not in a traditional way, but in ways that will ensure that we get fair journalism straight from people who are there just to provide information on behalf of the public. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. But I sit in this space with no bias as a member of the community, with an understanding that my bias is going to be for the journalists who work for me if I had one. But even they can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
So my hope is that as a community, the general public understands the importance of relief when it comes to these water truck drivers, the fishermen, the farmers, and the media, and everyone else out there. It's not, people don't just fail because of their own bad decisions sometimes. And I want people to think about that. Larry, you've got some days of the year for us?
Yes, today is Professional Speakers Celebration Day, navigating the art of impactful communication. These skilled individuals inspire audiences, weaving compelling narratives that resonate.
I'm not a public speaker. I don't like it. I don't like standing up and people looking at me. Do you guys like public speaking?
I guess I could do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, Maya?
I enjoy it now. Sometimes it wasn't like a thing that I thought I ever liked, but apparently I like it. And I actually forgot to mention, and I probably would have mentioned to you sooner, Jamal, but I actually got my first moderating gig out here in Toronto. So
Hello, where is it? All right, congratulations.
I'm really excited.
Both of you have moderated some things over the last year. They don't ask me to moderate anything because I cuss too much, apparently. But I got a joke for you. We've got, folks, don't forget, we have a very important guest coming up. She's been very patient, Mrs. Florenz Maxwell, coming up. Again, you all called her name so much last Friday, so she'll be coming up after this break. But I got this joke. I gave it to Sherry the other day, and she's still probably laughing, all right? All right, here we go. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Mr.
Who?
Mr. Hartman in your mouth. Thank you. Stop. Yes. That was the joke. Yeah. Get it? Like
original.
Yeah. I just made that one up on the fly.
Not Marshall giving actual points for originality. Anyway.
Made up myself. Thank you. You know what? We're going to take a break. We're going to bring in Ms. Maxwell, who is going to lighten up this place with a very good conversation. This is someone that you, the audience, were honoring in word last week. And Maya, again, thank you for what you do beyond this show, taking the conversations on your platform and adding even more context so that people have no reason not to have access to who these people are that we should. Maya, we'll see you later.
See you guys later.
Maya Palacio, make sure she's getting these things, folks. You see it. You said it, Suzanne Ingham. I nominate Maya. She's the best. Is the best. Hire her now. This is what we do. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Please don't go anywhere. Stick with us.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's. I call it my one-stop shop in the city. Peoples. We're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Place else.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. He's Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Please do not forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Folks, if you haven't already, it costs you nothing. Make sure you give us a like, love, follow, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on our website, subscribe, but just make sure you're sharing this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Today, we have a very special guest be joining us, and we're going to be talking about her novel, Girlcott. But before we get into that, a lot of you were speaking about her experience as part of the progressive group and her role in, segregation and so on. So please give us let's give a warm TH welcome. I got a different board here. And let's give a warm TH welcome for our guest for the day. We've got Mrs. Florenz Maxwell. All right. Hey, they are going crazy for you, Miss Maxwell. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, is that clapping real, or did you just...
You know what? I'm going to say it's real based on how they were shouting your name last week. Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. Like, I don't know who the guests are going to be on this show until Friday, probably Friday evening at the earliest. And last week, so we do this feature on Fridays. It's called Friday Fun Day. So last week was International Women's Day. And Larry, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the question was, who are some, unsung heroes among women in Bermuda, that we should recognize? And your name, and the audience will tell you, your name came up over and over and over. And to know that you were coming on, once I got that list, I was like, wow, we're going to get to speak to someone that this audience actually adores and respects and loves and believes, like, wow, we need a statue of him as well. But just you hearing that, how does that make you feel? You hearing that this audience feels that way about you, how does that make you feel?
There's no word for that except blessed.
Amen.
I feel blessed, yes.
Amen, amen. And there, Anika DeShield says, good morning, Mrs. Maxwell, and Suzanne Ingham, Miss Maxwell, they're in the audience, but I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So let's get into the convo. But before we get into Girlcott the book, let's just tell those who may not know a bit about your background and your journey from being a member of the progressive group to where you are today.
There's a lot of sentences there. And I became a member of the progressive group through my husband, who was then a boyfriend. And I didn't get into it from the very beginning. It happened that he was coming to see me at strange times. And I said, no, wait a minute, looks like I'm second fiddle and I'll have to get rid of him. And he could feel it coming, but I didn't realize he could. And the very time that I was going to give him his walking papers, he said, I have something to tell you. And I said, oh, goodness me, don't tell me he's beaten me to it. And then he said, I've got to take you someplace, but I can't tell you about that because, as you know, the progressive group was very, very secretive. And when he took me to the meeting, and I found out later that he had tried to get me to become a member, but they just don't take you because you are dating someone. You have to be able to keep a secret. And one of the members said, oh, Florenz Webb, I was single at the time. I knew her. She's always kicking up about racism and that sort of thing. So that's how I became a member of the progressive group. And I will say that if anyone asks me how do I feel now about being a member, and I would tell you that I feel very, very proud, not because of segregation, because I believe that we wouldn't have remained segregated up until now, even though some people think Bermuda is backward. I don't think so. But what I feel very, very proud about is that there were 18 of us, all very, very different. When I look at the names now, we wouldn't have really become friends because we were so different. But at that time, we had one thing in common. We were concerned about Bermuda. And I am proud of the fact that not one of us, despite the fact that we were all in a position where we needed a job or mortgages or whatever, not one of us, and my favorite word is snitched, not one of us snitched to the powers that be as to who we were. And that, up until now, tells me that no matter what we say about Bermudians, we can stick together.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And even now, we have that feeling, those of us who are left, we still have that feeling of pride, and we respect each other. And that should be Bermuda's motto, progressive group mentality.
I absolutely appreciate you saying that. And I hope that we actually repeat that over and over and over on our social media channels to get people to understand the importance of remaining loyal to the cause. Because I don't think, I could be wrong, your loyalty didn't come from towards one another necessarily, but to the cause. And in order to be loyal to the cause, you had to be loyal to one another. That is something you don't see it as often today. And that's a lesson right there in how to achieve things. You have to, I was a part of a cause myself, and it was 14 guys, but you only know 3 names. So I understand the importance of that. And thank you for sharing that. And, over the years, I mean, we've got Traveling Trotty here saying, Mrs. Maxwell is a gem. I love both her books. And I want to get into that because last week, there are a few people that brought up your books and the importance of them. Just let's touch on Girlcott this morning. But what is Girlcott about?
Girlcott is about a young girl who discovered Bermuda was segregated and how she became involved in helping the situation. And I know that's very vague, but what actually happened was that I used to, it still happens, involved. Teachers constantly invite me to their schools to talk about the progressive group.
Mm-hmm.
And in the early stages, I was surprised, and I shouldn't have been, because the generation wouldn't have known about segregation.
Right.
There was no word or description I could use to make them understand what it was like for the 2 races to be apart. The children, the young people didn't understand that at all. So, and what was the progressive group? And I decided to write about it. At first, I thought of nonfiction because of the type of story. But I'm a storyteller and I like fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, very devoted to young adult novels and the fiction. So I decided I would write a young adult novel. And I wanted to explain to young people what was behind the progressive group so they could understand it from a storytelling point of view. So that's why I got involved in writing Girlcott as fiction,
Okay.
nonfiction.
Miss Maxwell, the book is an Oprah pick for must read in the Caribbean. How does that make you feel?
How would it make you feel? I mean, sometimes you can't find the word to express the shock, the excitement, and the thanks that it has happened. So if you can find a word for that, then you can explain how I feel.
I love it. I love it. So with all that said, what do you hope people take from Girlcott?
Well, I'm actually hoping that that we get more writers. I want to see more Bermudian writers, young people in particular. And I must say that when I wrote Girlcott, I didn't, I'll start from here. Most people think that when you write to make money. Forget it. You don't even get enough to maybe go to the grocery store. So the money is not important. It's what it does to people. And the most, to me, the important thing about writing is your theme. What do you expect people to get from it? And I wanted, I was passionate about my story. I've always been passionate about how we as Black people are portrayed in literature, because that was where I started. And it was always we were always dysfunctional and always derogatory. The stereotype was legion. And I wanted to do something about that because I knew it was not true. And I also wanted to start with the dark-skinned person. People are probably tired of hearing me say this, but I have to emphasize it because it's one of our problems in that I wanted my main character to be dark-skinned like me, and I wanted her to be positive. Well, I'm not going to say like me. I'm not going to, because it's not about me. And I wanted her tall because I'm short. And I wanted her to be good in maths, and I'm challenged. And the important thing, I didn't want my book to be looked at as an autobiography. I wanted people to feel the character and understand what I'm trying to put about. So what I would like, what I'm getting, really, I'm surprised at the response I'm getting from people. The book was published in 2017. And if your maths is better than mine, you'll know how long that it's been, that it's still going strong. And I'm very, very impressed with that, because people are letting me know, and I know the negative people out there are keeping quiet. Please stay quiet, because I don't want to hear you. The positive people have made me realize the importance of being an author and the responsibility of being an author. It's not just writing, as I said, hoping to make money, or seeing your name on the spine of a book. And if you look behind me, you can't see the names of, but you see all of those books piled up there. And if they just sat there, they're what? Knickknacks. And the book is not a knickknack. And Girlcott, thank God, and I thank him every day when people call me and tell me something positive about the book. I thank the good Lord for making this possible, because it's what is interesting. It's no longer just a book where you sit and read. It's an audio book. And I'm not going to go into the background of that, except that my publisher approached me about that. And I wanted a Bermudian voice, because we have to push Bermuda positively. And if we're not careful, all people know about us is that this folk tale about us being the Bermuda Triangle. And don't bring up the Bermuda Triangle to me, because you'll see a temper that you didn't think I had. We are not part of the Bermuda Triangle. And when I think of the number of positive things that are attributed to Bermuda, but we don't even promote them, I wanted, in my own way, a Bermudian voice. And I was very fortunate in that I got Salala Brock. And she is, well, I have to go back. It's how things happen in circles. When I was writing Girlcott, I wanted a dark-skinned, positive character. And one day I was walking along one of the streets here, and I saw I saw Arlene Brock, I knew quite well, and she had her daughter, Salala, with her. And I was immediately impressed. She was tall, dark-skinned, self-assured, brilliant. I mean, everything I wanted in my main character, Desma. And I told the mother, and the mother reminds me of this. We had a joke off it. And I told her mother that I want her to be the character. When they do the illustrations, I want the artist or the illustrator to depict Salala. But of course, the book took so long to be published. She was no longer a teenager. And then when I was thinking of a Bermudian voice, what was shocking was that I thought of Salala. And now, not because of what she physically looked like, but what she had now achieved. And I was very, very impressed that she's an actress, and she's now involved in Broadway.
Yeah.
Yes, and when I chose her, of course, we didn't know anything about that at that time, and she was just delightful to work with. I was impressed, because she's successful. And usually when people get success, not everybody now, I've got to be careful about this. I don't want anybody jumping on me because I said everybody. Not everybody. But many times when people are famous, they're very difficult to work with. She was just delightful. I'm now Aunt Florence.
I love it. It's quite a story. I mean, look, an audience, if you have any questions or comments for Mrs. Maxwell, please send them through. But it's incredible, just from when you initially met her on the street with her mom to now, she's the voice and she's, on Broadway. The way it's come together actually brings us to this. Mark Arthur C. Phillips, he says, Mrs. Maxwell, are you still writing? But then he says, have you ever been approached to turn Girlcott to a movie?
Number one, I'm not still writing because I haven't had time. You need time to write, And what would the second one have? Oh, yes. I've been approached about turning Girlcott into a film, and be prepared for my answer. I'm not interested in it becoming a film, and I have to pace myself when I explain why. Many times, a movie does not truly depict the story, and until we get positive movies about Black people, I don't want my book to turn into something different from my theme.
Mhm.
And so far, I don't see anything positive happening. I don't want them to lighten up Girlcott, Desma, because they feel that's more attractive. Because people have to get rid of that mentality. And I haven't been able to unbrainwash the brainwashing on that one. And if you are aware of young adult books in particular, if there is a Black character, the darker she is, the more dysfunctional she's described. And I don't want any of that happening to Girlcott. And I don't think movies are ready for that. And there's not, and there's no violence in it because we didn't stand for violence. And you don't get a sex book as you read Girlcott. And I don't want that. So as I am now, and I've passed it on to my sons and my close friends, when I'm dead and gone, if somebody comes up with that idea, remember I can sit up in that grave if it doesn't happen properly.
No, I am so grateful that you feel comfortable to be so direct and honest. Sometimes it's tough. I have to give these things on this show sometimes because I'm usually offending somebody by accident. I say by accident because I don't wake up in the morning and say, let me go offend someone. But I think we need this. And you've done it so eloquently this morning, not to offend people, but to speak to why you do the work you do, the importance of it, and why it's necessary. We have a question from Rashida Godwin. She's asking, hi, Mrs. Maxwell. I enjoy listening to Martha's curse about the exhibition. Do you know when Blacks were allowed to go to the exhibition?
Not exactly. I don't remember the date. It might have been in the after segregation. After the progressive group broke down segregation. It might have been in 1959.
But I can guarantee you there are people tuned in right now who didn't know that Blacks could not go to the exhibition at one point.
Oh, you could go to the exhibition, but you couldn't exhibit. Yes, anything. Yeah, that's your difference.
Yeah, they couldn't exhibit. I think these are the kind of things that got lost in history. It's interesting because there's no one telling these stories. Are there enough? And I always say to Maya, it's about making things accessible to people. As long as things are accessible to people, there should be no excuse why we don't know the information, right? But
I agree, yes. And I'll say this, that I couldn't make this accessible. Well, personally, it's not my personality to go push my stuff. I don't believe in that. I can't sell raffle tickets. I can't do any of that stuff. So, where I can't push my book. But I've been very fortunate that other people have done it for me and are still doing it. I was about to call names, but it's early in the morning and I'm not sure my memory is going to do justice to these folks. One Island, definitely One Island, one book. And I'm trying to think of it. See, it's gone from me just this minute, and that's what happens when you get all nervous.
No worries.
Ingrid Applewhite at the she's head of the English department, and I know she'll probably well, she knows she's very quiet. She won't jump at me, but she doesn't like to be promoted in the. But it's through her idea, getting first the students, then the students involved their parents, and the parents got to the community, and One Island, One Book just took off. And I was just pleasantly amazed at how positive it was. And she had a great committee. And I sneaked in on some of the meetings, but I didn't say anything, and I didn't get involved in anything except it made me feel good. Just watching how positive we can be.
Yeah.
And Saltus, I'm trying to think of her. She's no longer at Saltus. I'm trying to think. She was the English teacher, and she introduced. I hope somebody can come up with her name. It's one from me, and she's now teaching at Victor Scott.
Okay.
And I love her dearly, and please forgive me because my early morning memory goes with my age.
My memory is what it is as well. It happens to all of us. We've got another question.
But she is now at Victor Scott.
Okay.
While she was at Saltus for 3 years. He had me come in to talk to the students about Girlcott, and I cannot ignore that,
Indeed.
And then, of course, in my alma mater, One Island, One Book.
Someone's asking, is it Dr. Squire from Saltus?
Thank you. and whoever you are, I'm hugging you.
Thank you, Nika. Yes. Okay. See, our audience is here to support you, but you're going to mention the Berkeley Institute, were you?
Well, I mentioned that. I mean, that's my alma mater. And if it weren't for, I went to the Central School. I still call it Central because that's where I went.
Folks.
No offense, Victor Scott School. I'm still part of you, but I went to Central. Okay. And then I went to the Berkeley Institute. And I thank both of these institutions for promoting, even if it was segregated at the time, which was good for me then because I had my own teachers. And back in those days, no teacher played the fool as far as education was concerned. And what we call abuse today was a regular occurrence if you did not do your work. And because I did not want that, whatever they did, I tried to do my work. And that's why I'm here today.
All right.
Times have changed, Doctor.
Do not do that. I'm not Florenz Maxwell. I'm not doctor.
No, I was actually reading this comment when I said it, Dr. Squire.
Yes.
And Anika went on to explain, Anika De Shield says, I think she was referring to Dr. Michelle Squire. That's her entire name.
Thank you, Anika.
Showing up for you. They're showing up.
And I think I'll probably see Anika later today. I won't hug you, Anika. I'll just say thank you.
All right. We've got one last question for you. Mark Altsy Phillips says, he's asking how challenging was it to keep the members of the progressive group secret? My mom, Mrs. Phillips, told me the story of the progressive group.
And actually, when it was, people didn't know about us until 40 years later. That had nothing to do with the fact that we were still obliged to remain quiet. What really happened after it was over in 2 weeks, Bermudians, there was no drama. And if there's no drama, people just don't bother. And no one was really interested in finding out who we were. And we weren't going to get out there and say, guess what, you folks, we were the ones. That wasn't part of our nature. So that's why 40 years elapsed before anyone knew who we were. And that was because names again, and he was doing the film When Voices.
Errol Williams.
Thank you. Errol Williams did When Voices Rise, but he had seen something in I don't know where he'd seen it, where a group silently brought about integration, and he couldn't understand that, and he tried to find out who we were, and he must have mentioned it to Glenn Fobler, and Glenn Fobler asked one or two people and found out yes, they were members, but they weren't going to say anything unless we all said it was okay, and that's the way we felt. We didn't want to be glorified. We still don't. You know, it's all about doing something not for praise, but that it works and it promotes the cause that you want. And finally, and actually, it was my husband who said, he was not, no, we don't need to come forth now. 40 years later, it's not going to have the same impact, because you're going to have people now seeing who we were and who there. I'm glad we didn't. We'll read, all kinds of negative things, who they think they are. And he wanted it to remain positive. And Glenn reminded him that he was in education. And this was history. And most of us, of course, at that time, we were alive. And this is one way of letting young people know that history is backed by living people. And that's the only reason we came forth.
And so much of what you just said, though, something that stood out to me is, nothing, this entire conversation has been not, I don't think selfless is the word, right? But it's been about what you're doing for others. It wasn't about the praise for the group or the individuals, right? I think right now we live in a time where everyone's doing something for that praise or that the award or the recognition. And I say it all the time, like the only award that we wanted when we were fighting for what we were was freedom, not for ourselves and individuals, but for everyone who was impacted. When I wake up every day, I need to make a living because it costs to live, but it's never about being a millionaire or a billionaire or none of that. It's really about what can I do to impact others, empower others, help others, make a difference in other people's lives by also making a living. Making a living doesn't mean exploiting others. So I really appreciate this conversation with you. And I really hope that I'm not the only one that's embracing every word you're saying in a manner of, and I'll be honest, how can what Mrs. Maxwell said this morning help me help others? That's how I'm taking this conversation. So I am very thankful for you taking the time and extending it. And I just want to ask you, there are people asking in the audience, about the book on Audible. It can be purchased on Audible. It still can be purchased on Amazon. Is there anything else you want to just say regarding the book and its availability, or how people can get in touch with you? I don't know how it goes.
You've answered all the questions.
I was trying to make it.
They will get in contact with me no matter what I say. My phone's been ringing off the hook. and when I walk the streets now, I need a paper bag to put over my head. I was someplace the other day and this woman said, "Mrs. Girlcott." I looked. She said, "You don't know me." And then she went on to say that she had just downloaded the audiobook and she recognized me. And I won't tell you how, but she recognized me, and that's the sort of thing. In Bermuda, they know how to get hold of you. And I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from my readers and whatever, because that's all an author wants. To know that the book is appreciated.
Before you head out, this final question, just want to ask you, you mentioned earlier, you love Bermuda. You don't think we're on a downward spiral, as you said earlier, I believe. What would you say to people out there? There are people of all ages. They just feel like Bermuda's not a place for them anymore. They've lost hope. They see no way forward. What would you say to someone who feels that way about Bermuda in its current state?
Well, I felt the same way back, and I got a green card, but I ended up staying here, and there is hope. What you have to do is look for the positive people. And the unfortunate thing is, no offense to you folks because you didn't do it today, the news is usually bad news and discouraging news. Very little is said about people who are accomplishing and, people who can really, make a positive impact on your life. You get that accidentally, and I think the news needs to push that more. Instead of all the shootings and the killings and the rapings, and okay, they happen, but there are good things that are also happening. And if young people see these positive things, then they will feel more hopeful because they are happening, but they have to be pushed.
Indeed.
Have I answered your question?
I think you did. And I think what you reemphasize is why this show exists. I think these conversations, this is a news talk show. And, our whole purpose is to have conversations that are going to empower and enlighten and celebrate and honor. Obviously, we have to cover some major news stories. But the point is that once this show is over, we hope that people feel more educated and inspired by what we've discussed. And with people like you trusting this platform, I think we can make that impact that you just described. So in that, I say thank you for your time today. And, to Zena in the background who's helped us, make this happen. We appreciate you. And we look forward to speaking to Silala in the coming weeks about her role in this, as well as broadband. Ms. Maxwell, thank you so much for taking the time. And we hope this isn't the last conversation you have with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, at this early in the morning, I mean, I'm not even nervous.
We do
as
our
nervous as you sort of, but and I've enjoyed your company. I really have. I'm looking at you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. And we've enjoyed you. And we hope to have another conversation with you soon. So thank you so much. And we'll talk soon. Have a great day.
And you too.
All right. Thanks. Ms. Florenz Maxwell, folks, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Man, I really enjoyed that, Larry. And we'll talk about it when we come back from this break. But make sure you share this conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Please, please, please give us a like, a love, follow, subscribe. This is why this show exists. We'll be back after this.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Let's kick it off in the footwear department. When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talks, and DeWalt. The list goes on. Take a look at our workwear for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Pair with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear. You can't go wrong. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can be stylish and comfortable at the same time? Speaking of stylish, we also have top quality running, walking, and workout apparel by Skechers in a variety of sizes for men and women. Cool, breathable, and dry. With our wide selection of Skechers footwear, you look great before, during, and after your workout. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
You'll be surprised at everything we have to offer at our huge new retail and wholesale location on Bakery Lane.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Ms. Florenz Maxwell for joining us this morning. Again, last Friday, you all were shouting her name, and here she is less than a week later joining us for a very important conversation. If you haven't already, make sure you cop that book, Girlcott. I'm going to make my purchase. I do my book, cabinet is increasing. I know some people are into audibles, Larry, but I have to.
I think I'm gonna try it. I have one that I did, but yeah, it's not so much my favorite. But I want to hear the Bermudian.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the Audible, but I've only purchased one Audible before. Something about me reading it is a thing. All right. Thanks again if you appreciated the conversation, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to have these conversations with you on a regular basis. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, the hint was given earlier. And this is in honor of our Canadian living colleague. What is the most populous city in Canada with French as the official language?
Montreal.
All right, he got that. Gave you all no time. He gave you all no time. So no one will be joining El Trot and Zane. Actually, you know what? It's actually Montreal. Yeah, Montreal is in Quebec, Anika, but it is Montreal. Yes. You know what? While Larry and I wrap it up, since Larry didn't give you all a chance, he's getting like that. He's getting like that.
I've been off this week, so I had to redeem myself.
Yeah, you were getting like them other two. We're gonna do a hashtag giveaway. So hashtag the Daily Hour, folks. Hashtag the Daily Hour. We'll give someone a chance to join tomorrow's draw. But let's wrap up today's conversation, Larry. Final thoughts on obviously the increase in pay for MPs, and then the conversation with Mrs. Florenz Maxwell.
The MPs and the pay, I think we can all agree that pay is good, but maybe restructuring needs to take place. And again, I would encourage it, if it's too much for the individuals, then step aside and let somebody else come along. Yeah. The conversation with Mrs. Maxwell was just awesome. I appreciated that she spoke about the cause and the sacrifice. It wasn't an opportunity to say, this is what I done and this, that, and the other. She just spoke passionately about what mattered to her back then, and that's what allowed her to be a success where she is today.
Yeah, indeed. Again, regarding the MP pay, I would just say what I said earlier. My hope is that we remove the individuals and focus on the positions. I think that the positions, probably to attract the Bermuda's best, need to be higher paid. If not, we're going to be left with the kind of individuals we have now, which are who people tend to not like. And not because they just don't like their personality, they don't like the job that they're doing. As it relates to the conversation of Mrs. Maxwell, I can't thank her enough. She mentioned about, the Oprah pick. There's no words. I will say it again. This show was created for conversations like this. I say it every day I can, that I'm not an expert at anything. That's why we speak to people like Mrs. Maxwell to give us the information that some of us were not taught. And, although we may have access to it, some don't know how to get that access. We don't know how to access it. So I appreciate her trust in this platform. I appreciate the audience for shouting her name and her answering the call.
Yeah.
This is why we exist. And this is why I will continue to encourage you to share and like. The reason we say to like and react to it is because algorithms, right? For us to reach more people, that's what you, the audience, have to do. For us to ensure that we're not keeping this information to ourselves, these are the things that we have to do. So I'd encourage you to continue to share this information. There's no reason that Bermudians should not know what people like Miss Maxwell and her husband and the many others involved in many things that we benefit from today. There's no reason we should not know their history and their journey. So I am grateful. And if you haven't already, go cop the book, Girlcott. The Audible is available. Check it on Amazon. But that said, we do have a giveaway, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this giveaway. Well, not a giveaway. You're going to be eligible to enter the giveaway. Tomorrow's giveaway with Al Trot and Zane. All right. So let's see who is going to be the lucky winner. Let's see. Let's get a little drum roll there. It's never on time, huh? All right.
Okay.
Simmons. All right. So Karen Simmons, Al Trot, and Zane will be in the draw so far for tomorrow of another Friday fun day. So yeah, you've got some daily inspiration for us, Larry?
I do. And today's daily inspiration is from author John Ron.
Mm-hmm.
Reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary.
I like that one. I like that one. Always appreciate that. You know, it was a saying that was very offensive, that if you want to get something over on Black people, put it on a book. Put it in a book, sorry.
Yeah.
I hated that. If you hate something, then you do something about it, right? So you start reading a bit more.
Agreed.
That said, folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Windows, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a regular basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. He's Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.